Bullock for Student Living and Wellness at Vassar College, small private college in Poughkeepsie, New York, about an hour and a half north of New York City. Um, and I have the privilege of being the chair of the Small Colleges and Universities Network. And I'll turn it over to Isaiah to introduce himself.
Good morning. Well, it's morning here. I'm on the West Coast. So good morning to those of y'all, or good afternoon. My name is Isaiah Thomas. Use the he series pronouns. I'm the chair-elect of the Small Colleges and Universities Network, and I serve as Assistant Dean and Director of Residential Education, Housing Services, and Student Conduct at Occidental College in Los Angeles, California.
Awesome. So thank you again for joining us today. Delighted to welcome you to this symposium. Pleased that so many of you have chosen to spend your time here. But without further ado, I'm delighted to introduce our opening speaker, Melanie Bullock Harris. So I'll read a short introduction here. Melanie Bullock is a higher education administrator committed to developing people who will in turn transform their organizations, their communities, and the world. She received her Bachelor's of Arts from, let me make sure I get this right here, degree in psychology from Spelman College, and her Master of Education degree in College Student Personnel Administration from James Madison University. In her career, Melanie has developed teams to plan diverse events and programs. She provided leadership opportunities for various departments, offices, and teams that include leadership engagement programs, student organizations, first-year experience programming, student government, alternative break experiences, and multiple programming boards. Melanie currently serves as the director of Center for Leadership and Community Engagement at American University. In her role, she leads the strategic development and delivery of campus and community-wide inclusive community engagement, service, and leadership programs that enhances the student experience and supports the university's commitment to experiential learning. Beyond her immediate role, Melanie serves as a volunteer for the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture and an Ovarian Cancer Research Alliance advocate leader. Please welcome Melanie to the Small College and University Symposium.
Thank you so much, Luis. I really appreciate you. I appreciate the invite. I'm so grateful to you and your team for being here. And in this moment and at this time, I am so thrilled to chat with you all today, where we get a chance to talk about one of my favorite things around joy. Our topic today is called Meeting the Moment and Finding Joy. Y'all, my name is Melanie Bullock Harris, she, her pronouns. Like Luis had shared, I serve as the director for the Center for Leadership and Community Engagement at American University. I have been there for a little over a year now. I have had a journey in higher education. I feel like since I learned to walk, my father was in higher education, and so I felt like I grew up on a college campus. I went to Spelman College. I have a degree in psychology and religious studies. I feel like I have an additional degree in extracurricular activities because I was that super committed student, very involved in things like student government, the programming board, and later became a Spelman College, but had an amazing time during my collegiate journey that I wanted to stay in the college experience and in the college space. And from there on, went to James Madison University to get my higher education administration degree to then start my journey in higher ed. And now I have been in higher ed for over 19 years, which is hard to believe. Also, like how do we get here moments happen often. But again, I am thrilled to be with you all today to plug in a little bit about my journey and experience in the field, and then center it and talk about this thing called joy. Other components about me, I talked about Spelman College, GMU. I am a partner. I am a mom to a very active 2-year-old. His name is August Ellington Harris. We named him after the playwright and the jazz musician, Duke Ellington. He is a pure joy, full of adventure. I am a sister. I am a dog mom as well. We have a little dog named Mika. I am a sorority sister. I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I volunteer and get a chance to work with the National Museum of African American History and Culture as a docent or a tour guide, preserving history and telling stories there. And then I also get a chance to volunteer with the Ovarian Cancer Research Alliance, which I'll talk about a little bit more a little bit later. I currently, in my role as the director for the Center for Leadership and Community Engagement, I have the pleasure and honor of helping and working. I feel like I have a team of superheroes that assist me in helping students identify their moments of joy and opportunities to create purpose and meaning and things around community engaged practice. We do things where we have an opportunity to provide grants for students to help them in their ideas and things that they may want to do to contribute to community. We have a emerging leaders program that we just started. We have this thing called DC Reads where we do tutoring and mentoring to DC public schools systems. K through 8 students and a host of other things as well. So that's a little bit about who I am. I am no expert in joy, but I live it daily. And so I hope that through my experience and understanding joy and how it meets moments in higher ed, in my work and out of work, that today's talk will inspire you. It will encourage you and give you that ounce of courage needed to take one step further and to keep going. Y'all, today too is my birthday. So I'm celebrating with you all today. I turned the great year of 42. It is my Jackie Robinson year. So I am filled with joy today to share this moment with you. I appreciate y'all so much. When I was invited to speak today, I was like, oh, it's my birthday, but that's a good thing. I'm excited to talk about joy on a day that is so meaningful and joyful for me. And so I wanted to plug that in. I am grateful to spend this time with you all. But y'all, it is my 42nd birthday, and I am loving
Old.
every moment of it. Thank you. So let's check in. Let's talk. And to do that, y'all, I'm also a big fan of Beyonce. I can't wait for Cowboy Carter to kick off here shortly so I can see all the TikToks and the social media posts that are getting ready to fill my timeline. But if you can, real quick, if you can check in on yourself, I do want to acknowledge the fact that we're in April. It is close to the end of the year, of the academic school year. We are getting ready to embrace summer. I know that this is a time where we may show up tired. We are tired. You may be a little inspired or a lot inspired. You may be overwhelmed, ready. Just for a page to turn and for us to put a bow on this year and say thank you for your service and embrace summer and all that it will bring us. And so if you think about this moment and where you are, and my hope is that the weather is good for you, the sun is shining bright, and that you are seeing the light at the end of this academic year tunnel. But in this moment, if you could check in on yourself, ask yourself like, hey, like for real, how are you doing? How am I doing? And use these Beyonce memes and pictures to indicate which Beyonce are you in this moment and add that to the chat. And I'll wait a few moments. And if we have some other Beyonce fans, let me know. We got the Beehive in the room. And so again, this is just a moment to check in with yourselves in a fun and different way by using Beyonce. If I was to say which number I am, I'm feeling a little bit of one. I'm not gonna lie, the end of the semester has me feeling a little bit of two. However, I'm excited. So 10 shows up for me as well. So I hope in a Beyonce picture or meme you were able to see this moment for yourself. So let's just jump into things. Today our goals are listed on the slides. What I want us to do is to really think about our why, to reconnect with this idea of why, our purpose, our passion, the thing that, or the things that brought us to higher education, to this space, and to this field. Today, I also want us to acknowledge and normalize challenges of working on college campuses during this season, during this time period, when there's so much happening around us that then impact our work and impact our students and our colleagues each and every day. I want to also talk about how we can reframe joy as a leadership tool and daily practice, not just a fleeting emotion. My hope is that I can empower you also to or with actionable strategies to cultivate joy, gratitude, and community in your work and beyond. And then lastly, I'm hoping that you'll feel inspired, a renewed sense of hope, a renewed sense of resilience and belonging in this space and in this field as we talk through things today. So to kick us off, I want to talk a little bit about why your why still matters. Kicking off with a quote, purpose is the fuel that sustains us when the work gets hard. And thinking about your why is your reason why you chose this path or whatever path that you're on. It's that spark that led you to a career, specifically in higher education and community building or just education in general. And student affairs, we're often so deep in the doing that we sometimes forget to create space to reflect on the deeper meaning behind it all. And in the rush of back and forth meetings, back to back meetings, when duty calls, being everything to everybody, it's easy to lose sight of our why. But sometimes when we can reconnect to that why, it's a good thing and it's a necessary thing. Your why is that internal compass. It reminds us of our work and reminds us why we show up every day. It reminds you what makes the late night calls when duty happens and hard conversations we have all worth it on our college campuses, at our respective schools. They often ask us to wear so many different hats. But we know that with behind each hat is our heart. And that heart likely got into this work, not for the title, not for just the perks that come along with the position, but for the opportunity to create transformational experiences. And your why may have started with a moment, a mentor that believed in you, a residence hall staff experience that shaped your identity, a desire to make students felt seen in ways that you once didn't. As well, I know for me, my why started with that mentor that saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and me wanting to create that same experience for other students. And to note too, it's okay that your why has evolved and will continue to evolve over time. We know that purpose isn't static, it grows with you, and that's a good thing. And so maybe now your why is about that, is about mentoring students. It could be mentoring professionals, building inclusive teams, finding or helping others find a sense of belonging. And when challenges feel overwhelming, your why is going to be the thing that is going to keep you grounded. You may not always be able to control everything that's going to be on your plate, but you can choose the meaning behind it. And if at times you feel disconnected, it doesn't mean that you failed in your purpose and understanding your why. It just mean that you need to take a moment of pause and to remember that why, reconnect with that particular why. You may not always need to do it at a retreat, end of the year retreat or summer retreats. It could happen in static moments or moments where there's pause. But in those moments, it also allows us not only just to reconnect with our why, but to find purpose that then fuels joy and helps us continue to move along the path. Our why matters, and why it matters, it definitely grounds us in our values. It's going to guide our decisions, especially when we're feeling overwhelmed. It rekindles passion when that burnout tends to creep in. And it definitely gives work meaning, even in the mundane task and the day-to-day things. And so again, it's important to reconnect to that why, to remember it, to help it ground you in the things that you do each and every day. And to help us do that just in this moment, I want you to just take a moment to reflect on a couple of questions. The first being, when was the last time your why showed up in a moment with a student, or maybe with a staff or colleague? I won't even just limit it to a student. And the other question is, how has your why evolved over time? And so I'll take just a couple of moments for you to reflect on those two questions. And then next, if you can, in the chat, can you share a word or a phrase? We'll keep it short today, a word or a phrase that connects to your why. So thinking about those two questions that you reflected on, can you think of a word or a phrase that connects you to your why? And what we're going to do is just, I call them chat waterfalls, where you're able to drop in your response into the chat, and then people can check out other responses, but it gives you an opportunity to share that reflection with others. So real quick in the chat, if you could drop in, again, that word or phrase that connects to your why. Go into the chat to see some of the responses: development and growth, mentor and education, behind the scenes improvement. These are all so great. Mattering, advocacy. I love these. Leadership with intention. Yes, Melissa, and making change. So great responses in the chat, and you can continue to reflect on those things when we think about this concept of our why. So next, let's talk about meeting the moment. Another quote to share with you all: resilience isn't just about bouncing back, it's working forward with wisdom, courage, and care. So y'all, let's be real. The moments that we're in right now, they're not easy, especially working on a college campus. And in these times, we are met with, and we know that we'll continue to be met with a host of different challenges and some things that are going to require some hard thinking. We know that at some institutions, with the challenges, there may be fewer resources, more roles, higher expectations at times, but it also means maybe even deeper relationships, opportunities to create unique impacts, and a front row seat to student growth. When we talk about meeting the moment, some moments may feel heavy when we talk about at this, especially in this moment, at times where a team is burnt out, where you're burnt out, where we're starting to see, when we see students in crisis. We know that with policy changes that are disrupting everything, or maybe it's that ninth email about a situation that has happened that you're still trying to find resolve. And but yet we still show up. We are still here. We still find a way. And that's not by accident. That's what we call resilience. That's what we call meeting the moment. Meeting the moment doesn't always mean pretending that everything is okay. It doesn't mean that pretending everything is okay. It means maybe taking a pause. It means taking a breath, responding instead of reacting. I want to share this particular model with you all to help you all think about meeting the moment with that resilience and some things that might assist with that. It simply goes pause, reframe, and act. And when we think about our roles in student affairs, it's that go, go, go mode. A lot of times we're trying to respond quickly. We're trying to fix that crisis or that problem, resolve the conflict, finish the task. But sometimes what we really just need is just time and space. It's not speed. It's just a moment to pause, to think about things, to reflect fully on things before we engage in movement. So again, pause, reframe, act, and a couple of things to note as we go through this model. Of course, we can't lead or love from burnout. And sometimes the bravest thing that you can do is pause. And so my hope is that this particular frame will help you think through things differently as you go through various different challenges that may come up. The first piece around pause, reminding you to breathe, acknowledge, and feel. This is your permission to take a step back before you actually step in. Pausing helps us get present physically, emotionally, and mentally. Um, During this time period of pausing, some things to do is noticing your physical and emotional state, naming what's happening without putting a judgment on it, and then creating that space between the moment and your reaction. What it can actually look like, maybe just taking 10 seconds to breathe deeply before replying to the email, saying, let me process this and get back to you instead of responding immediately. Stepping outside even for 5 minutes to ground yourself before a difficult meeting. Key phrases or key things to keep in your pocket that could be used later, or example phrases. I'm exhausted and not thinking clearly right now. Let me get back to you on that. This feedback stung. I need a minute to sit with it. But again, just remembering and acknowledging moments where you just should pause, should stop in the moment to be able to, again, breathe and acknowledge and feel. The next piece is reframing or a reframe where you shift your lens and not your truth. Reframing is not, it's not pretending. It's really just about putting things in perspective. I do want to note, it's, some things to do in this moment, asking what else might be true in this time, in this space, and in this moment. An opportunity where you can really kind of think through, what am I learning? How am I growing? Giving yourself grace, understanding that things aren't perfect. I don't need to be perfect to move through this. Kind of in that same vein of learning and growing, giving your space to be curious, to ask big questions as well. Reframing helps you shift from reacting to everything to responding to actually what matters. It puts you in the place where you can honor what's hard and still believe something good is able to come out of it. Other examples, like Paul's, this isn't failure, it's a chance to just realign. I'm not behind, but I'm responding to evolving priorities. And then the last thing is acting, moving forward with intention and not just urgency. It's not about fixing everything. It's about moving forward with clarity, courage, and care. Action might mean saying no with compassion. I want to say that again, saying no with compassion, asking for help instead of carrying it alone. It could look like maybe sending that email you've been avoiding with kindness and adding boundaries. And in this space, when you're acting, it's okay if your action is actually small. What matters is that you have alignment in whatever you're acting upon. Just some reminders in this space and in this part of the model to take the next right step. Ask for help, delegate, communicate, set those boundaries. Joyfully reminding yourself you are not alone in this work. There are people there to help and to help carry the load. Examples to, again, put in your pocket for later. I'll take 15 minutes to rest and then reply with a clear head. I'll ask a colleague to collaborate instead of carrying this all by myself. So another reflection moment and some questions to think through. What's something in your work right now that could use a pause? What story, this reframing piece, what story are you telling yourself? And is it the whole story? What's one small action you can take to honor your needs this particular week? And I'll take a moment where you all can reflect on that. And I want to bring up a quote by Brene Brown, who says, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is give yourself permission. I want to highlight this book that she's written called Dare to Lead. And if you haven't had a chance to check it out, I definitely encourage it. There's also a ton of resources online, activity books, workbooks that you can download for free. So we did a book club at my previous institution at Elon University on Dare to Lead, which was a transformational experience. It allowed some really brave and courageous conversations and allowed us all to kind of reframe how we move through our work. Particularly in this, I wanted to highlight in this one piece around that Paul's Reframe and Act model that connects to some work that Brene Brown brings to the forefront and Dare to Lead is this concept called permission slips. And she defines it as a simple note to yourself. It's a conscious, compassionate way to say, I'm allowed to ... It will help name your needs, quiet that inner critic, and show up fully. And so if we were to think about your own permission slips today, and taking a moment of pause, what are you giving yourself permission to do today? And I want you to think about intentionally something you're going to give yourself permission to do. And whether you write that down, type it in the chat, or put it in your notes tab on your phone, if you have a post-it note nearby, somewhere where by saying it and putting it out there, it's holding you accountable to that thing you say you're going to do. Examples include, I give myself permission to rest without guilt. I give myself permission to not have all the answers. I give myself permission to feel proud of what I've done. I give myself permission to take up space and be heard. I give myself permission to feel joy, even in hard seasons. And for me, I'm going to actually take that one for myself. I'm going to give myself permission to feel joy, even in hard seasons. Life is hard right now. Things are hard right now. But I'm giving myself permission. I'm not going to feel bad about it. I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I'm giving myself permission to feel joy. So again, what are you giving yourself permission to do? And my hope is that you just take a moment to write that down somewhere, whether it's in your notes tab, on your phone, if you have something close to you where you can write it down. But the prompt is, today I'm giving myself permission to whatever that may be. Permission slips aren't about lowering expectations. They're about honoring what's real so we can rise with more grace. And the next piece I want to go into is talking about the joy and the journey. Joy isn't the destination. It's found in the moments that we've chosen to notice. I feel like so many of us are waiting for joy like it's a vacation, like it's a planned thing, which it can be. But I believe it's so much more. It kind of it may show up in a way like maybe once I get this project done, once I hire more staff, once I get through this training, then I can find joy or I can experience joy. The truth is that joy isn't at the end of work or project. It's really it really should be woven through it and in the middle of it. It's hiding in ordinary moments. It's whispering, did you see that? Specifically in student affairs, joy can feel small, and that's fine. But in the small moments, they can create big meaning. It could be that late night conversation with a student that turned into a breakthrough. It is the email from a colleague or a student, maybe a student you felt like you didn't reach that says thank you. Joy doesn't always show up in the parade with all the confetti. Sometimes it's in the deep breath, a shared joke, a hallway high five. It could be the late night pizza parties, that those thank you notes, solving that printer issue. Um, Whatever it means, it doesn't have to again be that big confetti piece, but it can be found in those small moments. Joy is that choice we get to make in the in between. It's not about the wins, it's about sometimes just in the witnessing. And again, you don't have to wait for joy. Sometimes you just have to pay attention to it. Other ways it could show up, maybe watching your team pull off something with limited resources, getting that real meal during training week, not just the pizza or things in the calf. When someone on your team says, you know, we got this. Seeing that first gen student bring their families to campus with pride, hearing from an alum that said, you know, you helped me believe in myself, or you helped me get to this place. Or maybe it's that quiet Friday afternoon when the building is peaceful and it's calm. What the journey teaches us about joy, joy doesn't mean ease, it means presence. It means that you can feel joy and exhaustion sometimes at the same time. It means that you don't have to just earn joy. It's that companion. It's not naive, it's resilient. It insists on showing up even when it may be hard. What it also may look like too, I put together some fun memes for y'all, catching students quoting advice you gave them months ago, your supervisor saying, hey, you know what, take the rest of the day off, you deserved it or you earned it from working earlier, watching your student leaders mentor their student leaders, a colleague leaving a snack or a sticky note on your desk just because, having a meeting that actually ends early with decisions made. Those are always good, joyful moments. I actually borrowed some of these. Your programming budget for the year is $5. Let's make it work. And these are more just fun, joyful moments where you could just laugh. Just some additional memes. Thanks for not pointing out which of Chickering vectors I was in every time I cried in your office. I love this one. Student affairs professionals, what my family thinks I do, what my friends think I do, what I really do are always fun. And if you haven't followed SA Pro Humor, please do, because they share a lot of joyful moments and fun memes often, that even in moments of hard times, give you a good laugh about our work and our profession. And so another reflection point and moment, some questions for you to consider and think about. What brought you unexpected joy this past month? How do you typically celebrate small wins for yourself or for your team? When was the last time you paused to say, you know what, this right here, this is good stuff? And I'll take a moment for you all to reflect on those questions. And for another chat waterfall, we're going to do something a little different in the chat. If you can drop in some encouraging words, notes of encouragement of you got this to your other colleagues that are here on this webinar. If you can, real quick in the chat, drop some cool words, some encouraging phrases or things that other people may need to hear, especially in this moment where we are. We're just in this chat waterfall going to encourage each other to increase those moments of joy for others. So in the chat, if you can drop something encouraging, like you got this, we are almost at the end of the semester. I believe in you. We can do this. We can do hard things. If you can, let's encourage each other in the chat. 2 more weeks. Keep going. This light at the end of the tunnel. We appreciate you. It always seems impossible until it's done. If it worked for Mandela, it works for me. Yes, y'all, I believe in you. You are tougher than you think. You matter. You can do this. We are almost there. Take a day off. Yes, come on, y'all. These are good. We are making a difference, even if not everyone sees it. Awesome. And if you all can keep encouraging each other in the chat, that'd be amazing. And we're going to continue to talk about joy. Another reflection point, joy doesn't always show up with a confetti cannon. Sometimes it walks into your office, gives you a side hug and says, you know what? Thank you for being here. Let's talk about this concept called a joy loop: purpose, positivity, and people. And when we align with what matters to us, how we see the world, and who we do life with, joy isn't just possible, it's sustainable. And when we think about how we sustain joy, how we keep it going, not just feeling it once in a while, we need to think about it in layers, not just in the moments. Through reflection and real life practice, I believe that joy has 3 core sources. Joy, we can find joy in our purpose, the meaning behind the work that we do. Joy in our positivity, the mindset that we carry, not only in our work, just in our day-to-day, but then also in our people, the relationships and the people, the community that surrounds us. The first piece, when we think about our purpose, that purpose is what keeps us anchored, especially when our calendar is packed and your energy gets low. It doesn't have to always be grand. It just has to be yours, your purpose. What it sounds like, I know this matters. I'm here to help students maybe feel seen. I'm here to shape spaces to change lives. So joy shows up in purpose. It also shows up in positivity, the perspective that we carry. Positivity, to note, isn't always about ignoring reality. It's refusing to give up on what's good. It's choosing to focus on what's working, what's possible, and what's worth celebrating. To note, it's not the toxic positivity. It is definitely real, rooted in optimism. And to note what toxic positivity, when we say that concept and word, I understand it as the excessive and often dismissive emphasis on positive thinking, especially if it invalidates or denies negative emotions. It involves pushing aside or suppressing difficult feelings in favor of a facade of happiness, which at times can be harmful to our well-being. And so I think when we frame positivity, is to note that it's to note, even in hard times, even in tough situations and in challenges, that you can still find joy in moments, that you can find opportunities to be optimistic and positive through it all. But it doesn't deny the things that are hard. Positivity gives you the ability to say, you know, even though this is hard, I'm proud of how we showed up. Even though there may be a lot on my plate, I'm grateful for this work in this team. Positivity can help us stay flexible, hopeful. It may sound like, even though today was hard, we made someone feel seen. And then the last thing, when we think about these pillars of joys and things that help us sustain our joy, people, our community. Joy is not meant to be carried and experienced alone. In my personal opinion and in my experiences, community has been everything. Joy is deeper when it's shared with, whether it's staff, students, mentors, and colleagues. When we think and frame it in the space of our work, it's also in our family, our friends, our friend groups, and communities that exist beyond work as well. I believe when you're surrounded by your people, by support, by that celebration, honesty, joy deepens. And so it's important to create community or be in community so that that sustained joy happens. It may sound like I couldn't have done this without you. And when we think about all three put together, that purpose, positivity, and people, or that loop in motion, purpose gives a meaning to work, positivity shapes your perspective, and people provide support and connection. And when we think about purpose can get a little shaky, people can remind us of our impact and our why and what we have been called to do. When positivity can be hard to find, purpose gives us that sense of reason to keep going. And when we feel disconnected from people, sometimes reconnecting to purpose and positivity can help us reach back and reconnect with our community and with those people. They all work in harmony, and when one is low, others can help carry the weight. So again, purpose, positivity, and people, using those three to help sustain joy. Another reflection moment: which of the three, purpose, positivity, and people, feel strongest for you right now? Which one could use more attention or more care? Who is someone in your circle that helps you find joy? So take a quick moment to reflect and think about those. Joy doesn't live in a single moment, it lives in the loop. When you reconnect with your purpose, embrace the good, and lean into your people, joy becomes your rhythm. Taking it a step further, let's talk about joy as a leadership practice, as a leadership strategy. Leadership, especially in our work in student affairs and in higher education, can oftentimes feel like it's managing tasks, working, trying to balance managing teams, and sometimes problems. I do want to offer a different framework and way of thinking. What if leadership also included that cultivating joy in those spaces? Thinking about it from a way of having or doing this practice called joy-led leadership, which doesn't always mean that you're upbeat and positive, but it does mean that you create conditions where others can thrive. You lead with presence and celebration and humanity. You see the humanity and seek the humanity in others. You also model concepts of rest, of gratitude, and being authentic. You're celebrating small wins. You're checking in with people. You're infusing humor, grace, and gratitude in your communication, in the ways in which you work with others. You model those boundaries and prioritizing rest in your leadership. You're creating psychological safety, creating space for honesty, mistakes, and growth with your team and people that you're leading, and with your students. ideas to bring joy into leadership. Um, uh, you have this concept of joy practice and what it could mean and how it may show up for you. Gratitude circles. I love starting staff meetings with a quick what's going well round. I love a good shout out too, making sure that you celebrate small victories, not just um, sorry, that you were looking at opportunities to celebrate small wins. I think at times we wait to the end of the year to um, live and breathe celebration. We have all of the end of the year banquets, award ceremonies, but I think it's important to be intentional about creating joyful moments, to creating moments where you're shouting out, celebrating small victories, big victories before the end of the year experiences and celebrations. Um, Doing these things called wellness minutes when you ending the meetings, or even maybe beginning the meetings with a breathing exercise, a moment of intention. And I love these things called joy mail. I have a folder in my inbox for them, but they're these periodic emails or notes from leaders with encouragement. And so I have always appreciated getting a random email that says some points of encouragement or some things, a moment of gratitude or whatever it may be. But I've created a folder so I can oftentimes go back to that folder to check it out. But it also reminds me to make sure that I do the same, and I'm sending out moments at random times of encouragement, gratitude notes via email. I also keep I'm a note card. Um, I would just say I don't want to say hoarder, but I love a good note card. And so I think going old school with a note card and a written note, it goes a long way as well. But random ideas, but just some things about or things to think about, and hopefully spaces to spark ideas or further ideas for ways in which you can bring ideas to bring joy into your leadership practice. Another reflection moment, what leadership legacy are you building, thinking through what is your leadership, or how does your leadership speak, or what is it saying for others? And how do you model the behaviors that you may want to see? What's one small way you lead with joy or could start doing? And because of time, I'm going to kind of move us into some of our last components and pieces. You all will have access to the slides though, so a lot of these reflection moments and questions, I do encourage you all to go back and whether you use them for yourself or for others, you'll have access to all of those things. Your leadership sets the tone. When you show up with intentional joy, others feel permission to do the same. Oh, I wanted to share another activity we've done in meetings, two truths and a joy, where you share two work-related truths and one thing that brought you joy or them joy this week. So for example, truth, I once had to push a golf cart in heels while on the interview, true story. I have a spreadsheet for my spreadsheets, very much true story. Joy moment, I danced to Beyonce with my 2-year-old this morning, which is also very much true, but also a joyful moment to reflect on. And then a joy break, if we had a little time, I'd play a little music for you all, but I do have a playlist for you all filled with joyful songs. But I encourage you, I think sometimes where you can just take a joy moment, for me, sometimes it may mean just listening to music, doing a little dance, getting my fan out, where them boots at, or where there's fans at, whatever. Just having a moment where you can just celebrate joy and being intentional about it. Which leads us into looking at opportunities and creating space. If you're going to be a leader that leads with joy, making sure that you refill your joy tank, remembering that you can't pour from an empty cup and you shouldn't have to. And when we think about refilling that joy tank, know that joy is a renewable resource, and making sure that you understand that it's not exhaustive, that you can find joy, ongoing joy in a variety of different ways. It never runs out. And a culture that creates or that celebrates doing the most, remembering that there's joy and rest is resistance. Reclaiming joy means giving yourself permission to just slow down, reset, and protecting your peace. Refilling that joy tank isn't selfish, it's a sacred strategy to help you keep going. Some signs to think about when your tank might be low. You may be showing up, but you're not fully present. You're going through the motions, you're feeling a little numb, small things feel overwhelming. The work that you used to do, that used to excite you feels more like a burden. You're supporting everyone, but not supporting yourself. Not sure if any of those resonate with anyone, but I have experienced those for myself. But just some tactics to think about ways to refill that joy tank in the event that your tank is getting low. You have those micro joy refills and restoration practices, some smaller things, maybe playing your favorite song, doing that dance or joy break, creating space where you can laugh with others, going for a walk, watching that feel-good show, maybe just doing nothing. Creating those restoration practices, taking a real day off with no guilt, cutting and away from email, stepping away from work to for real get that day off. Saying no to protect your yes. No is a beautiful thing, and I don't think no gets as much credit as it needs to. Maybe doing some journaling, reflective writing, talking to that mentor, or setting a hard stop to your workday. A couple more things to reflect on. What fills your cup outside of work? What boundary do you need to set to protect your joy? What's something joyful that you've been putting off? You're not a machine, you're a masterpiece. Protecting your peace, or protect your peace and prioritize your joy. And then some of the resources that I'll share with you, I've created a daily joy tracker and gratitude challenge. And so if that might be something that you are able to use to help fill your tank, you'll have that resource at your fingertips. And as we wrap up our time today, I just wanted to send a couple more reminders to you around meeting that moment and finding joy. This is an invitation to choose joy, to lead with that intention, honoring the work, the people, and the purpose that brought you here. Knowing that you don't have to wait for the right time, the perfect conditions. Joy and intention are choices that you can actually make daily. What it looks like when you're meeting the moment and finding joy, you're leading, being present. You're letting your values guide those actions. You celebrate, you are curious, you're learning, you're pausing with purpose. And our final reflection moment, what does meeting the moment look like for you right now? Where's joy waiting for you to notice it? What intention will guide your leadership in the weeks ahead? And I just want to end on a final, let me go back, piece around my own moments and the way in which I have met my moment with joy. Y'all, almost about a year ago, February 14th of 2024, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. It completely rocked my world. I had just started my job at American University. I had a 1-year-old at the time, and I wasn't sure how I was going to navigate life at that point. But through the journey, I have learned to meet my moment with joy. I have found moments where it got really dark and heavy, but joy showed up in the right time to help me keep going, to help me lead with purpose, and to help me stay resilient. Meeting the moment for me with joy meant joining the Ovarian Cancer Research Alliance, where I could help other women that were dealing with the same disease, and to also advocate on Capitol Hill for research funding and dollars and money to help raise awareness. Meeting the moment with joy meant volunteering at the National Museum of African American History and Culture, which being a storyteller in that space brings me so much joy. Meeting the moment with joy means for me taking that vacation talking on the phone with my line sisters, hanging out with my best friend and my partner, spending time with my bundle of joy, and finding moments where I can create joy for other people. And so I just wanted to leave you all with that piece today. Wherever your moment is, my hope is that you find joy, that you find peace, and that you are able to create spaces and practice where you can sustain it in times where things get really hard and times where things create challenges, for you to continue to move forward, continue to do this great work that you're doing, and to continue to thrive, and be an inspiration for others. You were made for this moment, reminding you all to lead with intention and to fill it with joy. Thank you all so much for your time today. That is my contact information on the screen. You can find me also on LinkedIn. I will also share with Alyssa, I've created a downloadable Joy toolkit filled with podcasts, books, a joy-filled playlist, and activities that you can use personally or with your teams. Thank you all so much for your time this afternoon. I appreciate you.